Hello. Um, my name is Charles Webster Bear, and today is January 9th, 2021, and I'm in Redmond, Oregon, USA, and my website is globalinternetgovernment.com. And today, I'm going to talk about some stuff. I'd like to make a video that's over 40 minutes. So the goal of today is to make a video that's longer than 40 minutes. So today I'm going to talk about 6 things. Number 1 is depopulationism. Number 2 is global internet government. Number 3 is Fog Bank. Number 4 is me. Number 5 is the universe. And number 6 is going to talk about my paintings, which are behind me. So I'm going to talk about 6 things, and hopefully it's going to be over 40 minutes. Number 1, depopulationism. Number 2, global internet government. Number 3, Fog Bank. Number 4, me. And number 5, the universe. And number 6, my paintings. All right, so let's get started. Number 1, depopulationism. Depopulationism is an idea created by the Chinese government in the 1980s. And depopulationism is also known as the one woman, one child policy. And depopulationists like myself feel it's illegal and immoral for anyone to reproduce a second time in this millennium. And depopulationists want to create a significant and sustained and immediate decline in the human population on Earth. And we feel the only fair and rational way to do this is to limit all human beings to one time. They can reproduce once or 0 times, but you can't reproduce a second time in this millennium. That's the only way that makes sense. And the Chinese have been doing it for 40 years. And this will allow the number of people on Earth to eventually arrive at a sustainable level, which is a number for future generations to determine, but I'm going to go ahead and assume it's around 2 or 3 billion people. Once the Earth is at a sustainable level of people, then the environment will be able to heal and more trees will be able to grow back. And then in the future, when people want to breathe oxygen, they'll be able to do that because there'll be enough trees to create enough oxygen for people to breathe. And then we won't all suffocate to death. And that's a good thing. So right now, the number of people on Earth is increasing, and that's the wrong direction. That's a suicide course. And basically what we're doing is we're killing the Earth and we're going to die with it. And that's the wrong way to go. Humans don't have the right to kill the planet. Humans don't have the right to threaten the planet. But that's what we're doing, and it's wrong. And we need to stop doing it, and we will. And if we stop doing it fast enough in time, then we can keep on going. Otherwise, it's game over. So that's depopulationism. I've been talking about depopulation since 1985. I've been a depopulationist for 35 years. I've been saying this stuff over and over and over again. And I'm actually starting to get pretty good at it, I think. Depopulationism is my religion, but it's also my politics. And depopulation is a spiritual mission for me, but it's also a political one. So depopulationism is the goal. Saving the planet is the goal. And so we all need to, do our part. And so it's time for Americans to stand up and lead by example. It's time for Americans, and especially Oregonians, to save the planet. And the only way I can think of doing that is depopulationism. And, me and the Chinese have been on this forever, and now it's time for everybody to get on this for the next few centuries. So we want to achieve depopulationism to save the planet. So that's depopulationism. That's the goal. That's what we need to accomplish as a species. So how are we going to do that? Well, that leads us to number 2, global internet government, GIG. I created GIG in 2000 in Portland, Oregon. GIG's a world government. GIG's the world government. GIG is going to provide every human being on Earth with a platform to participate in and contribute to the world government. GIG is an interactive media website that's going to allow everybody to be part of the world government. It's going to allow everybody to understand what the world's government is doing to them personally and to their local region and to the international community. It's going to make everything very simple and easy to understand. And people are going to be able to react to it in real time and be informed about it in real time. And if you don't think we should have a world government, I've got some very bad news for you. We already do. It's called the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund. And GIG is going to work with the UN and the IMF to help unite the planet. GIG is going to work with the UN to help unite the planet politically, and GIG is going to work with the IMF to help unite the planet economically. GIG is going to work with the United Nations to unite the planet politically with freedom and democracy and equality and reproductive rights. And reproductive rights means that all people have the right to total and free access to all forms of birth control, including abortion. Any government that does not completely and totally agree with this 100% is an illegitimate government. Illegitimate governments will be replaced quickly and peacefully by legitimate governments. GIG's also going to help unite the GIG's going to work with the IMF to help unite the world economically with transparency and trade agreements and regional currencies and balanced budget amendments. And GIG is going to GIG's going to make every single financial transaction by every single government on the planet completely transparent and put it online immediately for everybody to see. And that way everybody knows where all the money's going, who's getting it, how much they're getting, when they're getting it, who they're getting it from, what they're doing with it, et cetera, et cetera. So GIG's going to make all government financial transactions on the planet 100% transparent immediately. Yeah, so I stole depopulationism from China, and I stole GIG from the European Union. The European Union is a freaking growing world government that is allowing certain nations that reach the criteria to join that government. The EU is moving east slowly. So GIG's just like that, except it's worldwide, and anybody can join whenever they want, and anybody can leave whenever they want. But you have to match the criteria. And the criteria is you have to, the majority of your country has to vote to approve the entry to GIG. And the entry to GIG means you have to approve depopulationism, balanced budget amendments, low inflation, low debt, freedom of speech, democracy, all this other stuff. So that's global internet government. It's inevitable, it's already here, and we need to go with it. There's no turning back. You know, it's just the way it is, man. Um, so that's global internet government, world government, and that's depopulationism. So what we have to do is depopulationism, and how we're going to do it is global internet government. So that's one, Depop. That's two, gig. Now we're on three, which is FogBank. And FogBank is my cyber currency that I created in 2019. So I've been talking about depopulationism for 35 years. I've been talking about gig for 20 years. And I've been talking about FogBank for only a couple months. Because even though I created it in 2019, I kind of kept it hush hush because I was still, hammering it out. But anyway, it's hammered out. And FogBank is my cyber currency. And FogBank is going to replace all currencies eventually at some point. FogBank has a unit of currency, and that unit of currency is called the FogBuck, FOGBUK, FogBuck. That's the unit of currency for FogBank. Plural FogBucks, FOGBUX. Now, anybody anywhere can buy as many FogBucks as they want for 1 penny each. The value of a FogBuck will fluctuate between 0 and as high as it goes, and then back down to 0, and then up and down again. That's the nature of cyber currency. The value fluctuates. In fact, that's the nature of all currencies. The value fluctuates. Okay, so then there's also the FogBic, FOGBIK. FogBics for plural, FOGBIX. So the value of a FogBuck and a FogBic is identical, always the same. The value of a FogBuck and a FogBic is always the same value. FogBuck is something that somebody buys from FogBank. FogBic is something that FogBank gives to somebody. And I'm giving 10,000 FogBics to everybody on the planet. Now, if you buy a FogBuck, it's yours forever until you spend it. If you have a FogBic, that's great. You can spend it all you want. However, FogBank reserves the right to suspend and or terminate any FogBic at any time for any reason, including no reason at all. Now, every FogBuck has a unique FogBuck identification number, and every FogBic has a unique FogBic identification number, and every FogBank user has a unique FogBank user identification number, and every FogBank transaction has a unique FogBank transaction number. Everything's 100% transparent. Everybody everywhere can go and see where all the money is, who's got it, how they got it, what happened before they got it, what they did with it. So every unit of currency in FogBank is 100% transparent. So everybody everywhere can always see where all the money, all the FogBucks are, all the FogBics, who's got them, the entire history of the FogBuck, the entire history of the FogBic. So 100% transparent. Also, there's a limit to how much money you can have. If you can't have more than $1 trillion worth of FogBucks. So there's a ceiling and there's a floor. You can't have 0 FogBics. If you have 0 FogBics, you'll get 5 or 10 FogBics a week as long as you're at 0. So right now there's an infinite gap between the rich and the poor. And there's no limit, there's no ceiling, there's no floor. You can have as much money as you can get, and you can be broke. Well, with Fog Bank, there is a ceiling and a floor. There is a limit. The limit is a trillion American dollars worth of fog bucks, and the floor is if you have 0 fog bix, you'll get 5 or 10 fog bix a week as long as you're at 0. So nobody can be totally broke, and nobody can just have ridiculous amounts of money, and the ceiling's going to get lowered, and the floor is going to get risen. So even though it's a huge gap, it'll be a gap that can shrink and will shrink. Okay, right now the gap is growing forever, but with Fog Bank, it's a gap that's not growing anymore, and in fact, it's a gap that's shrinking, and will continue to shrink slowly as circumstances warrant. So that's Fog Bank. Now we're going to talk about my favorite subject, me. Hi there. I'm Charles Webster Bear. I'm 51. I'll be 52 in a week or 2 or 3. Never been married, single, straight, don't have any kids, Buddhist, agnostic, libertarian, depopulationist. Born and raised in Santa Cruz, California, West Side. Went to high school in Newport, Rhode Island. Graduated in 1994 from the University of Hawaii at Hilo on the Big Island. 1995 moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico. 1999 moved to Portland, Oregon. 2000 created Global Internet Government. 2007 moved to Bend, Oregon. 2014 moved to China for 3 years, which was awesome. And 2019 created Fog Bank and moved to Redmond. So now I'm here in Redmond, which is pretty great. And I'm running for mayor of Redmond, Oregon in 22, and I'm running for president of the United States of America in 24 and 28 as a libertarian. Number 1 is a depopulationist, but number 2 is a libertarian. And libertarian means that I'm for more freedom and less government, fiscal conservative, socially liberal. If it has to do with cash, I'm a Republican. And if it doesn't have to do with cash, I'm a Democrat. So that's libertarian. So please vote for me. Thank you. Vote Bear if you care. Yeah. Yeah. That's me. Well, now we're going to talk about the universe. Okay. Is that okay with you? All right, we're going to talk about the universe. Now, the universe 15 billion years ago was a plasma of dark energy. You with me on this one? Okay, good. This plasma of dark energy expanded and cooled and evolved 15 billion years ago, what I like to call infinite time negative and infinite space negative. And this energy of dark, this plasma of dark energy expanded and evolved and cooled into a expanding, evolving, cooling energy plasma of dark matter, which continued to expand, rapidly and expanded to a point in time and space that robots can comprehend, and then continued to expand rapidly into a energy plasma of quantum particles to a point in time and space that mammals can understand, and then continued to expand rapidly as an energy plasma of subatomic particles, which we like to refer to as the Big Bang. Which was the origin of this universe, this known physical universe that we need to give a name to differentiate it from all those other universes out there, the unknown universe, the metaphysical universe, the pre-universe, the post-universe, inner universe. But I digress. Anyway, Big Bang, boom. Okay, so now we are 14 billion years ago, and we've got an energy plasma of atomic particles that expands and evolves and cools and forms hydrogen atoms. And gravity acts on these hydrogen atoms and forms gas clouds of hydrogen atoms. And gravity acts on these hydrogen clouds to form stars, which form the other elements, and gravity acts on these stars to form galaxies. And now we've got this giant expanding bunch of galaxies, and that's what we've got today. And the expansion is increasing. And 5 billion years ago, we had our sun was created, and the leftovers was the planets which orbited the sun 5 billion years ago. And we had Earth, and we had Earth, yeah, lava blob, crust cooled, gas escaped, formed the oceans. 4 billion years ago, life was created, bacteria, our ancestors, due to random chemical events. And the bacteria reproduced and mutated genetically and evolved into algae, which created photosynthesis and created the atmosphere, and mutated and evolved into ocean plants, which evolved into land plants. And then the ocean plants evolved into fish, which evolved into reptiles, which evolved into mammals, which evolved into monkeys, which evolved into apes, which evolved into humans, which evolved into robots, which evolved into computers, which evolved into artificial intelligence, which evolved into advanced forms of silicon-based life, which evolved into other stuff, which evolved into other stuff, which eventually went on to colonize the galaxy and the universe. That's the history of the universe, and I may have left a few things out. Let's back up 3 million years and go to Africa, South Africa. Now we have Homo erectus evolving into us, Homo sapiens. And then we made it through the jungle and out of Africa through Egypt about 200,000 years ago and colonized the planet. Now the cat's out of the bag. And then about 15,000 years ago, we started forming cultures and societies and civilizations and language, and we started domesticating plants and animals. And then 2,500 years ago, things start to pick up speed a little bit. We've got modern civilization. One of those modern civilizations was in Greece. And the Greeks created the foundation for Western civilization, which still exists today: democracy, science, mathematics, theater, art, etc., etc., etc. And around that same time in India, there was this cat named Buddha. Buddha, started wandering around and getting all philosophical. And he's like, when I'm dreaming, I don't know I'm dreaming. Why is that? Well, because I know my thoughts exist, but I don't know if anything else exists. It might be an illusion because maybe I'm dreaming. So he thought about it and he was like, well, you know what? If the universe does exist, then that's great. But if it doesn't exist, then I'm not part of the universe because the universe doesn't exist. So what the hell am I? Well, I'm the soul. So Buddha created the soul 2,500 years ago in India. And that information went east to China, where they were intelligent and sophisticated enough, and they had the language to be able to understand what he was talking about. And they created Buddhism, which is a philosophy. And in my opinion, it is the correct philosophy. Karma, etc. However, this information also went to the West, to the Middle East, where they were not sophisticated enough and they didn't have a proper language yet to describe this stuff that is Buddhism, and they misinterpreted it. They misinterpreted it twice. First time is called Christianity, and the second time is called Islam. And many shenanigans ensued and continue to ensue. And so the Greeks created the modern Western civilization, and then the Italians borrowed that and took it to Europe. And then we had the Dark Ages and the Middle Ages and the Renaissance and the Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution and technology. And then we had America with freedom and equality and democracy. And then we had a bunch of wars. And then we got to the 1980s, where the Chinese created depopulationism. And that was the first time the human race ever actually became truly civilized and started to become environmentally conscious and started to actually do something for the environment. And so when this millennium began, only the Chinese were prepared to enter it properly, and they did. And now it's time for the rest of us on the planet to enter this millennium properly, and we will. And that's depopulationism. And we're back to number one. And then we go to number two. Well, how do we achieve that? Global internet government. And then number three, flag bank. Number four, me. Number five, the universe. So I wanted to get to 40 minutes. I didn't quite get to 40 minutes, but I did get over half an hour, which is good. That's a good thing. But one of these days I will get to 40 minutes. Okay, now we're going to take a look at my art. I want to show you 4 paintings which are behind me. And they're for sale if you want to buy them. The first painting is a hurricane by the Big Island of Hawaii. And then in outer space, there's like a galaxy by the sun. That's painting number 1. So let's take a look at painting number 1. Oh, it's over here. This is painting number 1. That's the Big Island of Hawaii, which interestingly enough is shaped like the head of a bear. And then that's a hurricane next to it. And then in outer space, that's a galaxy, which incredibly enough kind of looks like a hurricane. And then that's the sun. Let's go to painting number 2. This is painting number 2. This is actually a head, but this head is actually the Pacific Ocean. And this is Oregon, and this is Japan, and this is Hawaii, and then this is Antarctica. Okay, let's go to painting number 3. That is a surfer. And painting number 4. This is New Mexico. And that's the sun. And this red stuff is a face. And then there's some fish. So those are the 4 paintings I wanted to show you. Okay. So that's basically it. That's basically my video. And my video is done. And I went over half an hour, which is great. So I'm very happy about that. One of these days, I'll go over 40 minutes. I need to slow it down, take more dramatic pauses, etc., etc. But anyway, thank you very much for watching my video. Please share this video. And please make your own video. Please make a video where you talk about these topics. Please make a video where you discuss these issues in your own way. Please get involved politically. Please vote for depopulationists. Please run as a depopulationist. And please save the planet. And please help other people save the planet. And I'm sure you will. And thank you very much. And that's about all I got. Again, have a great day, have a great year, have a great life, and peace out and adios.